you're thinking about moving to Colorado Springs, but you're looking for some areas where you can walk to shops and stores, this video is for you. My name is Ben, and in this channel we make videos about what it's like to live and move to Colorado Springs. So today I really wanted to go over some of the most walkable areas in Colorado Springs. Got a couple requests on this topic, and just really thinking about it, I think it'd be good to clear up what are walkable areas in Colorado Springs. So originally I was gonna make a list of like the most walkable to least walkable areas, but it's a little bit hard to do because Colorado Springs in general is just not going to be that walkable. And when I'm talking about walkable, I don't necessarily mean like access to trails where you could like walk around your neighborhood. There's plenty of those, but when I say walkable, more so meaning where you can go out your front door, go to shops or stores, or just have access to things without having to have a car. And with those walkable areas, there's just a lot fewer of them. And honestly, there's really only about 3. So if you look online, you'll see different like scores or like walk scores for different areas. And I honestly think these just aren't accurate. The algorithms that they use probably base it on like literally how many stores are in the area. But to get to a lot of those stores, you have to cross like sketchy roads and whatnot. So a couple of these that like I think aren't necessarily walkable, but that show up as walkable are the Ivywild neighborhood. So if you look on like Google Maps, you'll kind of see what I mean. Not super walkable, although there technically are stores nearby. And then the Old North End. The Old North End is relatively walkable, but you're still a good like 6 to 7 blocks away from downtown. So although the Old North End technically is walkable, you're still gonna have to walk a decent ways to get to all those shops and stores. So here are, in my mind, what are the top 3 most walkable areas. So number 3, you're gonna have Manitou Springs, and this technically isn't in Colorado Springs, but it is part of the metro area, and it's like 3 minutes away from Colorado Springs, so I'm gonna include it. So Manitou is honestly a really cute town. It's really quirky, has a lot of character, and it's really old. Most of the houses are kind of older 1900s homes, and they're all built really onto the side of the mountain, like I've mentioned in previous videos. So downtown Manitou is not huge, however it is fairly long. So it's a singular road that has pretty much all of the stores, and there's a lot of cool shops. So some of our favorites are like Rocky Mountain beignets. They have amazing beignets. They're like these donut things. And then there's like Manitou Brewing that really has a cool ambiance. Also Manitou, if you do visit, has like these 8 different mineral springs where you can like drink the mineral springs, and just be warned, it tastes horrible. Maybe there's some of you who really like that taste of mineral water, but yeah, Manitou has some mineral water that is naturally found, and they have these fountains, and apparently each one tastes a little different, although I kind of think they all tasted just bad. So the one caveat though with Manitou being walkable is if you are wanting a really walkable area, you're probably gonna have to live pretty close to the main street that has all the shops, because if you go just a little bit further, you're going to be up on the side of the mountain, and it's going to be pretty treacherous to walk up and down it, especially in the winter, just meaning there are only going to be certain segments of Manitou that are extremely walkable. So when I was looking online to see like how many listings would be walkable in this Manitou area, there were only like 8 that were currently on the market. So if you look at those like 8 to 10 listings on the market, most of them are going to be like small houses, a couple condos and townhouses. So you can find some like really small 1-1s for like 300,000, 330 that have been sitting on the market for a while. And then if you go up a little bit to like the 400K range, you'll find some like decent 2-2 condos or townhouses. And then if you're wanting like a really cool historic house in downtown Manitou that's pretty well kept, you're looking at like the 600 to 700K range. So that kind of puts it into perspective. There honestly aren't that many walkable options. However, Manitou is a super cute town. Really recommend checking it out if you are in the area. So the next one's kind of obvious, and that's going to be downtown Colorado Springs. And even just saying like downtown is broadly walkable honestly just like points to the fact that Colorado Springs isn't that big. There's not like east side and west side of downtown that's the most walkable. I'm just purely saying downtown is walkable, which is obvious. However, the perception of downtown Colorado Springs to some is still that it's not super livable, and that's just not the case. You know, there actually are condos and semi-high-rise buildings. There are plenty of shops where you can really have your own setup all within downtown Springs, and that's important to know. And they're honestly building quite a bit in this area, so like you have the new Switchback soccer stadium right within downtown, and they're also taking down the Martin Drake power plant. So honestly, a lot of good things coming to downtown, and overall, just the way that the main streets are kind of set up, it's super walkable. So like my wife and I have a friend who lives couple blocks from the main portion of downtown. Shout out to you, Des. And extremely easy just to walk out the front door and go to different restaurants and then walk back. And the general vibe of downtown is just gonna be a little bit more industrial. So you do have, aside from like restaurants and whatnot, a lot of more like office building type businesses. And even in places like Loyal Coffee, one of our favorite coffee shops, you'll see they renovated over like warehouses and practical businesses, and in general it's just going to have a little bit more of an industrial vibe with exposed metal beams and brick and stuff like that, which honestly it is pretty cool. So some of my favorite places in downtown are, just like I mentioned, Loyal Coffee has some of the best coffee in Colorado Springs in my opinion, and then you also have places like the Rabbit Hole, which is a little staircase down to a restaurant that's like underground, and apparently in doing some research, it actually used to be an old morgue. So hopefully it doesn't sway you from going, because it is a really cool place, but it kind of has a little bit of an eerie vibe with knowing that. And then you also have places like The Well and Kawadi, which are like food courts in bigger buildings that are all locally owned places, so like you can really pick between what you want and have really cool ambiances and are really well designed. So you are going to have quite a range of real estate types, believe it or not. So you'll have like condos and townhouses. Not a ton of condos in downtown Colorado Springs. They are thinking about building some more, but yeah, you do have some. And you also have older single family houses, and then you also have like multi-family houses within older houses where they've kind of divided it out into like triplexes or quadplexes. So price wise, you can find some condos that are like 900 square feet in the lower 300 range. Keep in mind these are going to have some condo fees as well. And then on the upper end of this, you do have some really nice condos that are going to be at the upward. The most expensive I saw was like $950K. So definitely a wide spectrum of different types of real estate in downtown. So in my opinion, the best area if you're wanting to be in really the heart of the city, which feels weird saying that downtown's not the heart of the city because it I guess kind of is, but that's going to be Old Colorado City. So it's not necessarily the most walkable. I think downtown is the most walkable. However, if you're someone who kind of wants to live with places right out your front door, but then not be in the craziness of downtown, then Old Colorado City could be the best option. So Old Colorado City was essentially the old downtown before it was called Colorado Springs, and they called it Colorado City, hence Old Colorado City. And it's not a super large area. However, the terrain is pretty flat over here. So unlike Manitou, where if you're a couple blocks away from the downtown strip, it'll be hard to walk to, you definitely can still have quick access to all these restaurants and shops, even if you live 3 or 4 blocks back from the downtown street. And a lot of these buildings are going to be really old, just given the fact that it was like the original kind of settlement spot in the area. And this is not necessarily a walkable aspect, but you are in the middle of 2 other basically downtowns. So you have Manitou to the west, and then downtown Colorado Springs to the east. So I like how it's kind of positioned right in the middle. And Old Colorado City is maybe not quite as quirky as Manitou, but it does have a lot of flavor with just a lot of variety of types of stores. So some of our favorite places are like Electric Tattoo, where you have some really skilled artists. Shout out to Mike. Then you have like gastropubs with Mother Muffs. And then you have like Old Colorado City Brewing that actually has like a rooftop section, which I feel like when you think of Colorado Springs, you don't think of like rooftop bars, but there is one here in Old Colorado City. So most of the real estate in this area is going to be like older 1900s homes, but the pro of that, a lot of these houses are just a little bit smaller. So you can find some things that are a little bit more affordable in this area, but in general, most of the real estate is going to be smaller to mid-sized single family houses with some townhouses and condos mixed in there. So you can find some decently well-kept 2-bedroom, 2 baths for around $400K. And then if you're looking for like a bigger 3.2 or 4.3, you're looking at more of like the $550 to $650 range. So that kind of does it for the most walkable areas in Colorado Springs where you can go out your door and go directly to shops and restaurants. There really aren't that many, but these are the main 3. And we are a team of realtors, so if you are getting any value out of these videos, feel free to give us a call or text. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're watching this far in the video, you should subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.